Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 30 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services, and looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Roxann Jimison and Keisha Moore from the Dream Center Academy with us today. Roxann is the executive director, and Keisha is the program director. Roxann and Keisha, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, very good. As usual, we're going to get right to it, and maybe start with you, Roxann, if you don't mind. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and share anything you'd like to, please.
All right. Well, I'm married to Scott Jimison, and together we have 4 children, 3 daughters and 1 son, and 4 beautiful grandchildren. You know, they're the favorites.
I'm sure.
2 grandsons, 2 granddaughters, ranging from ages 5 to 18. I'm a native of Gaston County, and I've been an educator in Gaston County. That's been my career. I was with Gaston County Schools for 31 years as a teacher, a literacy coach, assistant principal, and a principal. I was principal at Chapel Grove Elementary and Lowell Elementary and retired in 2017, and now I'm the director of the Dream Center Academy.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for sharing that. Keisha, what about you?
Not quite as interesting, but maybe a little. Married for 21 years. My husband, Kenneth Moore, is retired from Highway Patrol. I have 2 children. My son just graduated and left for the Army about a month ago, and I have a daughter in middle school. I am not a Gaston County native, but I've worked in Gaston County for 20 years and have been with Dream Center Academy since 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you. So maybe I'll start with you on this next question, Roxann, and this is really for both of you. But first, how did you end up at the Dream Center Academy? And then a second piece, I'm not sure, we probably didn't share this question, but kind of give us maybe a brief history of this academy, how it got started. And
okay. All right. I retired, as I told you, from Gaston County Schools in June of 2017, June 30th to be exact, and opened the academy the week after the 4th in 2017.
Okay, so it wasn't very long.
A week time frame.
Week retirement.
But it didn't happen that quickly, of course.
Okay.
As Keisha said, we came on board on the planning team in 2016. I was approached by Dickie Spargo, the pastor of City Church, then Bethlehem Church. He was the executive director of Dream Center of Gaston County. Dickie approached me and asked me to become the program director of Dream Center Academy, and he wanted me to start right then. And I had another year to work with Gaston County Schools, so he hired me to come on to the planning team. And that planning team I invited a couple people on the planning team. Amon Selton, who was is a social worker with Gaston County Schools. He and I had worked together at Ryan Elementary and had a very strong professional relationship, and I knew he'd be a great part of our team, and he's still a part of our team part-time. Okay. And then I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Keisha Moore in September of 2016, and she came on board with our planning team. So we spent the year on weekends and nights on the phone planning and prepping for our opening in July of 17. We also, I want to give credit to Dickie Spargo, who had the brilliant idea for the program. As I said, he was the executive director of Dream Center of Gaston County, and he had heard about an organization in Durham called Student U, and Dickie had visited there a couple times prior to my coming on board, and then he took us to visit as we came on board, and Dickie had the brilliant idea of starting a like organization in Gaston County, and that's how we got started. And I think as we talk about what our program is like and our initiatives, we'll tell you how that kind of built from there.
Okay, all right. Keisha, what about you? Anything you would add to that about, you kind of mentioned how you got started there, or did she cover it pretty well?
She did a great job.
It seems like I remember Dickie contacting us. I went out to an event. Wasn't the original location out off of Fairview or
That's
Davidson?
where Dream Center of Gaston County was, and they did some programs from that site. But when we were when we were beginning to plan for the academy, we knew we needed classrooms.
Right.
And so Dickie contacted Pastor Dennis Boyce from First Assembly of God Church, and he knew that First Assembly of God had a building that was pretty much vacant. It was their former private school that closed in 2008. So there were 2 wings of that building that were not being used, 2 wings of classrooms. So we toured, I believe it was wintertime. So we still didn't have a place to open in July. We were searching for one. But we went and visited. Pastor Dennis was very much on board with us beginning a site there. So First Assembly has provided us with a site for the academy. They do not charge us rent. We pay a minimal fee to offset utilities, but they are very much a supporter of the academy in that they provide us with a site to host our program. And right now we have about 12 classrooms that we're using that are ours. And
wow.
then they share their gym and their cafeteria and outdoor facilities with us.
And if any of our listeners don't know, First Assembly is on Myrtle School Road, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I actually grew up in Linden ARP Church, which is right on Myrtle School Road as well. So I'm very familiar with there. Of course, our other building is not too far from there in West Gastonia as well. So just stick with you, Roxann. This question is for both of you, but what can you tell us about kind of the mission of the academy and exactly what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I'm going to share a vision first because
okay.
Our vision is that we will want to see students from the academy graduate college career ready and become productive citizens of this community. So we see it as an opportunity to change Gaston County from within. And so our mission is to empower our students to own their education, and we do that by developing their academic and social skills so that they can succeed in school and beyond. As I said, that started with the vision, and what drives all of our programming is considering that graduate that does become a productive citizen of Gaston County. So we feel like it's a great way to make change in Gaston County.
All right. That's a pretty big vision and mission.
Yes.
So, again, I appreciate you sharing that. So, Keisha, as the program director, maybe I'll shift over to you. This next question is about, can you talk about some of the initiatives or programs or however you guys describe that, kind of some of the things you guys are actually doing week to week or day to day with the students?
Sure. Well, our program offers, obviously, academic tutoring. So we have certified teachers from Gaston County schools that come in for ELA and math, tutoring, sometimes science and social studies, and that's during our after-school program. That happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on Mondays and Wednesdays, we offer enrichment clubs. And part of what I think makes us so successful is that we are constantly talking to our students and people in the community, and we're offering clubs that our students are not activities they're not able to engage in on a day-to-day basis in other areas. So, for example, we've partnered with the School of the Arts. We have a drone club. We have coding and Lego robotics, which are some great things that they can get during the school day. But we also have music, keyboards, and guitars. So they're able to tell us what types of activities they would like to engage in and then participate. We also partner with City Church High Five sports, so they play flag football and basketball and volleyball and all of those things as well. And I think ultimately part of what makes the program so successful and will help with making sure that they are productive citizens, we are constantly exposing them to the things that are right here in Gaston County. What's available here for you in Gaston County? Should you go to college, these are the reasons you would want to come back. And they're able to see other people come in from the community and want to be a part of their lives and participate with them. So.
All right. Very good. I appreciate that because I'm not sure, there may be some listeners, even myself. I was a little familiar. I did spend some time on the website, and so I'm a little familiar with some of the things you do, but there may be some listeners who were not. So I really like this next question, and can you, so I'll stick with you, Keisha, for now. Can you give a specific example or a story or a student or a family that has you've seen firsthand? Obviously you don't need to share specific information on the individual or family, but something that you've seen a student progress, a success story that you could share with our listeners?
Definitely. we have a lot. Roxann and I talked about this. We were kind of like, oh, there's not a particular
How
one.
can you narrow it down, right?
I can tell you this. For the students that walk through our doors every single day, each of them could share with you a story, specifically something at Dream Center Academy. Our program is about relationships. So when we are trying to build our students, we're building their families, we're building bridges with Gaston County Schools as well to make sure they're successful. And in particular, I think about our families that during COVID, they struggled with remote learning and they struggled.
Sure.
So they came to us and they said, could you be open on Wednesdays? Because Gaston County Schools were closed on Wednesdays. And I was like, I don't know if we have staffing for that, but we will try. So we did. We opened every Wednesday, 8 o'clock. It was a need that parents had to help them with things like Power School and Canvas and, some technology things that maybe they weren't familiar with. But it also held our students accountable to their remote check-in days. And what I think was most exciting about that was that the students asked for it. They wanted it. They sought it. If there was ever a Wednesday that I said, hey, we're not going to be here next Wednesday, but why? What's happening, Ms. Keisha? Why can't we come? And so they are excited to still come and to do the work, but to be a part of the community, because that's what we are. We're just a family. We're a community. Every year we're adding more students to that. But I think our parents, our teachers, and our students would tell you it's just the accountability and the love, the environment itself.
All right, that's terrific. Roxann, what about you? Anything to add to that, or another specific story you might have? Or
I just want to say that this is why we're together, Keisha and I, because as she and I planned for this day and for the opportunity to share with you, and we've talked about, as she said, is there a specific situation, a particular situation we want to share? And we said, we'll have to think about that one. So she thought, and I thought, and I didn't know what she was going to share today, but it's the exact story I was going to share, that students were asking, please open on Wednesday so we can come. And I think they've even asked you that this year, haven't they? Even though they're going to school on Wednesdays, please open and let us come here on Wednesdays. So that was one of the stories. Another story is I recall a particular student who, at the time that she was nominated, and students do apply to be in our program, they're nominated by teaching staff, and she was nominated as a middle school student. And she was a student who was in some things. She was on half days, and in those half days, she was spending time in the behavior lab, but they saw potential in her. And so she was nominated and accepted into our program. And I'm proud to say that student is thriving now as a straight A student and performing well in school with her behavior as well. So that's just one story.
Well, that's a terrific story and a terrific example. Yeah, and I can imagine. I mean, I have a ninth grader, and she's in 10th grade now. But when COVID started, and the whole pivot and going online, and it was such a, frankly, dramatic change. And some students seemed to just roll with it, some didn't. So I can imagine having that opportunity would be pretty big and pretty dramatic. So again, I'll start with you, Keisha, on this question. Can you share, and you may have already shared a few things already, but can you maybe one or two things that maybe you're most proud of accomplishing in your time at the academy?
I would say the community service projects probably stand out for me right now, because it's something that in the past year we've struggled a lot with, but it's teaching our students to give back, and that we all have gifts and we all have something that we can share. In the past, we've taken them to Project 658 in Charlotte. That was something that they love, to be able to work with younger children and read and do homework. We've volunteered with ARP Manor, and recently the high school students did a reading program at Mount Zion, where they were reading to preschool students and giving them all a book to develop their love of learning. I definitely think the community service is something that they enjoy, they talk about, they ask for, so that's something I'm most proud of. And then beyond that, I think it's just their academic achievements, because a lot of our students have struggled, and the excitement that they feel when they get those report cards. They're so proud to come in to share that with you, even on a day-to-day. If it's not a report card, if they weren't, we check grades every Monday, and if they weren't doing so well, the minute it goes up, they come in like, Miss Keisha, Miss Roxann, that grade I had that wasn't so great, I've turned that around, I'm on the honor roll now, or whatever the improvement is. So that's definitely something that they have developed, that love and that power to know that they can change it and that they can do better. So.
Wow, that's extremely impactful. What about you, Roxann? Anything specific you could share?
Well, when we were talking about this, we both said the relationships that is what I'm most proud of, because as an educator, that was always what worked in the classroom. I knew that those strong, positive relationships between the teacher and the students and among the students themselves. And so that's something that I think that we score an A+ with. Keisha mentioned the relationships that we have with our families, our staff, and it's a very much like a family environment.
Well, very good. So this is a podcast about Gaston County, and you've already shared several reasons why this is true. But why? Again, I'll stick with you for now, Roxann, and then go to Keisha afterwards. Why is Gaston County better, in your words, because the Dream Center Academy is here?
Because there's a need for a program like ours.
Okay.
There's not a program like ours in the community. I know a lot of people like to ask how we're different than other programs, but if you want to come and visit, you can see that firsthand, and hopefully you'll gather some of those ideas as we share today. But we are located, and I would say we're strategically located on the western side of Gaston County, and we primarily serve students who attend Hunter Huss High School. So we're serving a lot of students who attend Title I schools. In that community, you know that there's a high economically disadvantaged and minority group of families. Mm-hmm. So we feel like we're serving students who have that need, but also our students are those students who have great potential. They were identified by their teachers as students with potential, but may have some at-risk factors that could hinder them reaching the potential. So we provide that extra layer of support, not replacing any support, but just that extra layer to keep them on track to graduate college and career ready.
Okay. You want to try to follow that, Keisha? That was pretty good. So why is Gaston County better, or did she pretty much nail it again? I have to start asking you questions first because
it's okay. I'm used to it. No, it honestly, I think what she said was exactly on point. But in addition, Gaston County is better because I do believe that what the students are seeing at Dream Center Academy is a draw for them to come back to this community. Okay. And if we did all of this and they all just moved away, I don't think it would have served our purpose the way we intended. But I do believe that over the 7 years that they're with us, they are exposed to so many things that they don't realize. I mean, even our college tours that we do with them in the summer, it's all focused in North Carolina. Recognizing all of the opportunities that are available right here is the most important thing, I think, to making Gaston County thrive in the future.
All right, very good. So I'm going to stick with you, Keisha. I'll make Roxann follow you on this one. So if you kind of look ahead 5 to 10 years, what do you envision the organization looking like down the road?
Well, I imagine that we will have to expand to a college program at some point, just because every year that our students move on, they are determined to stay connected. So we will, I'm sure, help them on their endeavors to go to college or trade schools or whatever it is that they elect to do in the future. I think the program will grow as far as just helping them recognize career opportunities, and we do some of that now with our high school program, internships and job shadowing, but those are all new endeavors every year because, of course, we started with 6th graders and they're now 10th graders. So each year it's about building and growing and providing additional opportunities. 5 to 10 years will be enormous. There will be a lot of students. But we'll continue with what works for our middle school program, and we will continue with what's working in high school and just expand that into college.
All right, very good. Roxann, anything to add to that? Or?
Well, in 2.5 years, our first class will reach their graduation year.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be a very exciting year. They're our class of 2024. That's what we call our students by their class when they'll graduate. In 5 to 10 years, I see us, that full capacity. I can see us approaching Pastor Dennis way before then, saying we need the other side of the building as well for STEM labs and workout rooms and just all kinds of arts and those types of programs that we'd like to expand on. Keisha described already what we have going on, but more partnerships with folks in the community and other organizations in the community that could help support that. That's what I hope to see. There may be other sites. We'll be at our site, but if anyone wants to also open another site for our Dream Center Academy, we would welcome that and help and share all the information we could to open other sites in Gaston County. I will say in 5 to 10 years, I will not be executive director. I'm actually going to retire. So, but I see myself volunteering there because I don't think I could ever leave it totally.
All right. Well, that's really good. So how many students are you engaged with, right now, or at a typical time period?
We have our capacity is for 40 students per grade level, and right now we have 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. We have never reached capacity as far as the maximum number of students. I think our class of 2025 is our largest class, and they have about 33 students in that class. Again, teachers do nominate these students, and they have to go through that process, but that's important for the buy-in so that they do remain committed for the 7 years. But, yeah, I think that if we continue that model for all of our classes, it will grow tremendously.
Yeah, regardless, that's a significant number of kids that you guys are impacting directly on a week-to-week basis. So is there anything I haven't asked or anything that you'd like to share about the Dream Center before we kind of shift gears? And of course, we'll come back and finish up with the Academy, but anything I haven't asked that you guys would like to share? May not be. I'm the greatest interviewer of all time, right? So,
one thing I'll share is I know that you're probably going to ask us about how people can get involved.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So I'll wait and share.
Okay. Yeah. That's the very last. That's the very last
right.
thing we'll do. Volunteer
right.
and how they can maybe even donate or whatever you guys might need. So listen, we're gonna. Well, let me ask this other question here before we get into the really good questions. What advice would you give someone wanting to get involved with an organization like the Dream Center Academy, or whether it's from a volunteer standpoint or from a career type standpoint? Maybe start with you, Keisha, on that one.
Obviously, love of children, but willingness to share talents and gifts. So a lot of the people that have come through might have come through touring with a large group and then just kind of saw what was going on at the academy and thought, okay, well, I could do that. I'd love to come and offer art classes, or we have a photography teacher now. But just recognizing that we each have unique gifts and that there's a child somewhere that might be interested in that. And our willingness to make that work is what makes us successful. We're not tied to having 20 students. We don't have any classes that have 20 students in there. So small groups and individual mentors, those types of things.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Roxann, what about you?
I would say come and visit and see it for yourself, see what's going on, and think about your talents, as Keisha said, your talents and your gifts that you could share with our students. A lot of people that come say, how can I volunteer? And I will share ideas with them, and then I'll say, but you need to think about what are your gifts, what are your talents, what do you feel passionate about sharing with our students? And that's what makes it successful.
Which is typical of most organizations. You really have to have a heart. Yes. When things get done like this, it's people with a heart to serve and are passionate about the mission and the vision. So like I said, we're going to shift gears real quick, and these are go through what we call our Gaston County speed round of questions, I guess is what we'll call it this week. And this is really what the people who your friends and family, and maybe even the students, this is really what they want to know about you. So we'll start with you, Keisha, on this round. And what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Chocolate ice cream is my favorite.
Chocolate.
Definitely.
Very good. Yes. I think multiple times we record this podcast, when that comes up, I say, I'm going to get something different every time, but I don't. I get chocolate every time. Roxann, what about you?
I would just have to say ditto.
Very good. You're two smart individuals. Roxann, Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Why do you have to choose? Just make it cherry lemon Sundrop.
All right, there you go.
Sundrop.
Sundrop. All right, so we have a fight on our hands there between maybe those two. Keisha, favorite local restaurant?
Woodshed.
Oh, wow. I don't think we've had that answer. I haven't been there. Boy, I haven't been there in a long time. Very good too.
Webb Custom Kitchen.
Webb is a popular answer, and is a great location. Absolutely. Roxann, what about you? Favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County?
We love going to Crowder's Ridge with our students. They have a blast there.
Yeah, Crowder's Ridge is great.
Yeah, and we'll give a shout out to Bit of Hope too. Those are two places we take our students on field trips, and we have an outstanding time.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah, actually, that's a good one. We need to get Crowder's camps on here, Crowder's Ridge on here for an episode. We've had Bit of Hope on. So, how about you, Keisha?
Yes, and Martha Rivers Park.
Martha Rivers is great. All right, this is my question that I came up with, and some people don't like this question, but I don't care. I ask it anyway. So I'll start with you, Keisha. UNC Duke or NC State?
Easy, UNC.
She's a graduate.
I had to reach over to press the crickets button on that one. Roxann?
Well, I didn't graduate from there, but I've always been a fan. I'm a UNC girl. But
maybe we can edit out this section of the podcast.
But I knew you weren't, so my husband asked me to bring you that gift.
This is fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't have video, but Roxann just handed me a memorial book for the 1983 National Championship, which was the greatest event in the history of sports, if anybody wasn't sure. So Elizabeth's going to get a good picture of that. So I appreciate that. Yeah, tell Scott that's fantastic. I think I probably have one of those crammed in a box somewhere. But, yeah, I was 12 years old when that occurred, and that was still one of the greatest. Unfortunately, NC State hadn't done a whole lot since then. But I appreciate you sharing that. And if you guys don't know, I actually married a Tar Heel, and so we have a mixed family. And so, but I do kind of make fun of that question. So start with you on this next one. Keisha, what is something very few people know about you?
That I love crafts and creativity, art type things.
Okay. Something specific or just in art and crafts in general?
Just, I spend too much time on Pinterest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can assure you I've never been on Pinterest, but I've sure heard a lot about it. And I know my wife has gotten many tips and things off of there. Roxann, what about you?
I like to sing karaoke.
You like to sing karaoke?
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to be a singer, I guess. I can't sing, but I like to sing.
Do you have a favorite karaoke song?
I have two. Both are by the Eagles. Desperado. And
yes.
Wasted Time.
Two very similar.
My go-to songs.
Two very similar songs. Yeah. Yes. Okay, I have to remember that. Roxann, recent book, or not have to be a recent book, but a book or something you would recommend to our listeners?
Well, I don't get to do a lot of pleasure reading. I do a lot of professional reading, but we do book clubs with our students every summer. And so a couple of great books that we've done with our books are Ghost by Jason Reynolds, and then Refugee by Alan Gratz. And Refugee is a story of three different children during three different time periods of our world who were children refugees from Syria, from Germany, and from Cuba. And it's just an amazing book where it starts with one character and then goes to the next in the next chapter, and then the third character in the third chapter, and it keeps rotating that way, and you just can't wait. You have to read 3 chapters at least every time to see what's going on. So it's very, I recommend it for students and for adults.
Okay,
it's a great book.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing that one. We make a note of that. Keisha, what about you? Anything you share
Those are great books that our students love. A Long Way Down is another one. For me personally, I just recently read the Frazzle Female series, which is a series that was gifted to me, and I've been enjoying that, trying to take more time for self-care. Roxann is always encouraging that. So,
well, especially the last 21 or 22 months, it's just been an interesting. Try to put a positive spin on it. It's been an interesting time, to say the least. And so, yeah, some self-care, and some time for reading. I mean, I'm a big reader, and that is kind of my personal time, whether it's books or the Bible or listening to podcasts, like this. That's one reason we started this. So listen, I appreciate your indulging us on those few Gaston County related questions, and you never know, a listener might really get something out, especially the books that you recommended. So we appreciate that. So we're going to swing back and finish up here with just a few more questions. So again, remember, this is called Gaston's Great. Keisha, start with you. Besides the Dream Center Academy, why would you say Gaston is such a great place?
I think just the tremendous growth opportunities and just seeing the change. I do think that the community is thriving. And as someone who would work in Charlotte for many years, I think realizing all the things that are available right here closer to home is wonderful. I think it's wonderful for our students as well. They don't have to go to the big cities. They can stay close to home and family and have wonderful careers.
Oh, I appreciate that. And of course, Charlotte is the gateway to Gastonia, so exactly. that's extremely important to remember. Roxann?
I would say that we do embrace change, but we continue to have that hometown feel, and I hope we'll always keep that, because that's why I've as I said, I'm a Gaston County native. I grew up in Dallas, North Carolina, and just have loved being a part of the community.
Very good. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're close enough to the airport in Charlotte if needed, but we pretty much, Gaston County has grown to pretty much anything you need. It's here in our county now. So, Roxann, if you weren't involved with the Dream Academy, what do you think you would be doing?
Well, I told you I'd be retired, but I would be doing something with teaching or educating. It's just been, I believe that was something instilled in me.
It's in your blood, huh?
It's in my blood. It's a gift, and it's something I've enjoyed sharing throughout my adult life. Well,
teaching, educating, it can be quite the legacy to leave, so I appreciate that. Keisha?
I would probably tutor, be a stay-at-home mom, I think, honestly. But I have to work with kids because that's just very important my whole life, like Roxann. So I figured I'd probably still tutor or something to that.
All right, very good. So this is, I say this every episode, but this really is my favorite question. I'm going to stick with you to start, Keisha. Knowing what you know now, and I know you just a couple of years ago, looking back, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? We get that look a lot with that question, by the way.
Focus. Just take more time and focus and really set more goals, probably slow down and set those goals. It's something we do with our students that I didn't do that I think is very important.
And when you're 20, everything else seems so far away.
It does. There's forever. There's just forever.
And all of a sudden you blink and...
Where did that go?
I blink and I'm 51, just like that. So.
And my kid is 20, so yeah, that's what happens.
Absolutely. Roxann, what about you?
I would say always put God first and family second, and let those be your priorities. Whatever else you do to make a difference in the world, do it, but put those things first.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you sharing that one. And I know can be a not a tough question, but one that can make you think about your 20-year-old self. And maybe, for me, I think about that as like, gosh, some of the mistakes I made and some of the, I don't know, outlook I had on the world was so different and no perspective whatsoever. Well, ladies, this has really been terrific. So obviously before we finish, this is really important. Where can listeners go to learn more about the organization or get involved, volunteer, donate? I mean, what can you share on how to?
So, of course, we have a website that's dreamcenteracademy.com, and like us on Facebook, and check us out on Instagram. And you can email me at rjimison, dreamcenteracademy.com, and we'll stay connected.
And it's a great website. I have spent a little bit of time on there yesterday, and it is where you can learn a lot. I mean, how typically are you getting funding from, and are there? I'm assuming it's donations or other organizations you might be involved with.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a shout out to those. So I wrote them down so I didn't leave anybody out.
No, please do.
We have about a $570,000 budget.
Okay.
And we're about $62,000 short for this year, so everybody keep that in mind. But we are funded with a 21st Century Community Learning Center grant that is through federal funds, funneled through the State Department. And that funding goes toward our middle school. It's a grant that we received in 2018 and had it for 3 years. We just received it again for 2021, and we'll have it for another 3 years. So we're very excited about that. We also receive a lot of funding from our local organizations, such as the Community Foundation, the Community Run, the Carrie E. and Lena V. Glenn Foundation, Sisters of Mercy, and Gaston County Family Advisory Board has also this year shared funds with us. And we received a national grant a couple years ago through the New York Life Aim High grant.
Okay.
That runs out this year, and we're eligible to apply for it a year from now, but we do have to sit out a year.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are some of our grants that we've received over the years and are funded with this year. We also received lots of donations from individual donors, and we have 2 particular donors that are very supportive of the Dream Center Academy, and we're grateful for them. And then we started a new program called Sponsor a Scholar, and we just kicked that fundraiser off last year. In lieu of hosting an event, we run a program called Sponsor a Scholar. And the way that works is we started with our high school students, and we started it with our class of 2024, our first class, and we sought 19 sponsors for our current 19 students of that class. And we were successful in getting a sponsor for each student. Now, the sponsor levels are available so that any individual or corporation could contribute. And we start with a $500 level for an individual, and we call that the advocate level, a $1,750 level for the patron, a $3,500 level for the champion, and a $5,000 level for the corporate donation. And so what we're seeking is for someone or corporations or individuals to commit to that, to become a sponsor. And when you take that student on as your scholar, that you follow them through to their graduation, and you support them not only financially for the next 3.5 years, but that you get to know the individual. And so we've hosted a couple of events to bring our sponsors and scholars together. We hosted one in September where they met and exchanged information and are able to stay in contact that way. And then we're hosting an event tomorrow night. It's our holiday party, and we're going to have our scholars, our sponsors, and their families, our students' families, join us for a holiday party with our 10th graders tomorrow. We're going to play the newlywed game and see how well our scholars and sponsors know each other. And we're going to do the Dirty Santa gift exchange. So we're excited about our program. And if anyone's interested in becoming a sponsor, please reach out to me, because we need 33 more sponsors for our second class.
Oh, wow. So is there information on the website about that, or
Yes.
is it somewhere else? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So listeners out there, please go to the website. So kind of before we finish up, anything at all, either one of you would like to, any final words or anything you'd like to share? Or I've done a great job. I mean, this has really been terrific.
Just thank you for doing a program like this.
Well, you're welcome.
And pointing out what's great about Gaston.
Yeah, I mean, our
Awesome
goal is simply just to share some of the things going on. We're not, it seems like there's enough negativity out there, right? But there really are some good things going on around us, and it seems that doesn't make the news, right? You know, the good stuff doesn't sell, so we don't hear as much about it. So we're just trying to make a little dent maybe in that. So, ladies, again, I appreciate your time greatly, and hopefully you'll get some more interested volunteers, or someone that can be an advocate for the organization and the kids. So I'm going to finish up with my book recommendations. And then actually, for the first time, I'm going to do 2 books this week. And this is going to be released the week before Christmas. So I'm going old school on a couple books here. The first one is 2 of my favorite Christmas-related books. The first is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I'm sure probably most of our listeners are familiar with that, but a lot of people have probably seen the movies. But if you haven't read the book, I would really encourage you to get a copy and read that. And the second one is one of my favorites that I even read to my kids when they were really young. It's just the old classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. So, and sticking with my quote of the week, I'm going to stick with that same book and Dr. Seuss. And in that book, he says, maybe Christmas, the Grinch thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. So please take that quote with you this week, and hope everyone has a good Christmas week. And I sure hope this is released the week of Christmas. Otherwise, this book and quote isn't going to mean as much. But again, I can't thank everyone enough for listening to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please follow us on all our social media platforms. And apparently, according to Elizabeth, if we get a good rating, That means a 5-star rating. I'm sure with the guest today, it'll be nothing but 5 stars. That can help us get the podcast noticed. Thanks again to Roxann and Keisha from the Dream Center Academy for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson and Elizabeth King from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.